When I was trapped in that elevator, I thought I was going to die. But what suffocated me the most wasn't the confined space. It was my own home. I came back expecting concern, but all I received were accusations, indifference, and neglect. I've spent my entire life working tirelessly, yet my husband, Carl, treats me like I don't exist.
Which city are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. And hey, make sure you watch till the end. Something's going to happen that you won't see coming.
My son Ryan does nothing but criticize me. My daughter-in-law, Lucia, sees me as a free babysitter. Even my grandson Alex looks at me with disdain. And in that moment I finally understood, I was nothing in this house. The cruelest part? When I was on the brink of death, they didn't even care. While I was trapped, Carl complained that I was interrupting his dance with his mistress. Ryan was furious that I had inconvenienced him, making him late to pick up his son. And when I limped home injured and exhausted, the only thing they had to say to me was, "Go make dinner." Enough. I've endured a lifetime of this, but not anymore. This time they're going to see that I am not someone they can trample over. When I threw down my apron and said, "I'm done." When I picked up my suitcase and declared, "I want a divorce." I saw the fear on their faces. I heard their desperate pleas. And in that moment I finally took control of my own life. My life is only just beginning. I was on my way to pick up my grandson Alex, when the unexpected happened. The elevator malfunctioned. As it reached the 8th floor, a loud bang echoed through the space, followed by a violent jolt. The sudden drop sent me crashing onto my hands and knees. My heart pounded in my throat, every nerve in my body screaming in terror. Then just as abruptly the elevator stopped. I let out a shaky breath, collapsing against the wall, my limbs drained of strength. Trapped with me was a young woman already in tears, her face pale with fear. She scrambled to her feet and pressed the emergency call button. A voice answered quickly, reassuring us that help was on the way, urging us to stay calm. But how could we? The elevator was still dangerously suspended midair. No one knew what would happen next. A sinking sense of dread took hold of me. I pulled out my phone, desperate to make what could be my last call, to Carl. The line connected, and before I could say a word, his irritated voice snapped. "What?" Fear had closed up my throat, leaving me unable to form a coherent sentence. "I'm in the middle of a dance. I don't have time for this." And with that he hung up. I called back. He didn't answer. Panic rising, I dialed Ryan next. I didn't know how long I'd be stuck here. I didn't know if I'd make it out alive. But one thing I hadn't forgotten, I was supposed to pick up Alex. This time I cleared my throat before speaking. The moment the call connected, I quickly explained my situation, telling him not to worry and asking him to pick up Alex. His response: "You're completely useless." The line went dead again. I stared at my phone, my vision blurring. I had so much to say. So many things I wanted to leave behind. But I hadn't even been given the chance to say goodbye. Beside me, the young woman was calling her boyfriend. At first he comforted her. But as time dragged on, his patience wore thin. "Babe, listen, I have work to do. I need to submit a report before the deadline. Don't worry, just wait for the rescue team, okay?" Her breath hitched. "If you hang up, we're breaking up." "Come on, sweetheart, don't be like that. You have to understand I have responsibilities too. You'll be fine. Call me when you're out, okay? I'll come pick you up. Don't you dare." The call ended. She clenched her jaw, wiped her tears, and without hesitation, blocked his number. The elevator fell silent. I had heard every word. These young people had it so easy. If they were hurt, they could just walk away. Carl had hung up on me so many times I'd lost count. Every time I called, his first words were always, "What do you want?" And every time before I could say much of anything, he'd hang up. But today, what if this had been my final call? Would he have regretted it? I shook my head. No, he wouldn't. I refused to stake my life on his remorse. I would survive. I had to. "Ma'am, your knee, it's swollen," the young woman suddenly gasped. I snapped back to reality, glancing down and adjusting my pants. "It's fine. I hit it when the elevator dropped earlier." "Oh, okay, as long as you're all right." "God, this is terrifying." "Don't worry, sweetheart," I murmured, my voice steadier than I felt. "We're going to be okay." Huddled together in that dim, claustrophobic space, we endured the agonizing wait, clinging to hope. At last, rescue came. By the time we were pulled out, night had fallen. I couldn't bring myself to take another elevator. Instead, I climbed the stairs, 10 flights, dragging my injured leg behind me. By the time I reached my apartment, my entire body was trembling from exhaustion, pain, and hunger. I barely had the strength to turn the doorknob. The moment I stepped inside, Ryan's furious voice exploded in my ears. "Oh, so you finally decided to show up? Do you have any idea how much you screwed me over today?" I froze in the doorway. He didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't notice the way I was barely standing. His rage only grew. I had to take time off work to pick up Alex. Do you know what that cost me? A huge deal, gone. Stolen at the last minute. Do you have any idea how hard I work? And all I ask is for you to handle one small thing, to help me for once. And you can't even do that. What the hell is the value of you? Enough. Stop arguing. You're disturbing Alex while he's studying. Lucia stepped out of Alex's room, her expression darkening the moment she laid eyes on me. She let out an impatient sigh. "Susie, hurry up and make dinner. It's late and we're all starving." I blinked, the words sinking in. Then, without a word, I turned and limped toward the kitchen. The entire time, Carl remained sprawled on the couch, eyes glued to the TV, completely indifferent to everything happening around him. He never even looked up. None of them noticed how pale I was. None of them saw my trembling legs, how I struggled with every step. And suddenly, a deep sense of injustice crashed over me. I had just been through something terrifying. I had been trapped in an elevator, helpless and afraid. I had barely made it home, exhausted and in pain. And yet not a single person asked if I was okay. No one wondered if I was hurt, if I was scared. All they cared about was that I hadn't picked up Alex on time. My mind drifted back to the last time I had asked Carl for help. My rheumatism had flared up so badly I could barely walk. The pain was relentless, stabbing into my bones day and night. I had begged Carl to pick up Alex just for a few days, just until I could move without agony. But he refused. He had dance practice with our neighbor, Vivian. And apparently that was more important. When Ryan heard about it, he wasn't upset with Carl. No, he was upset with me. "Mom, you're being ridiculous. Dad spent years working far from home, breaking his back to provide for this family. He suffered for over a decade. Now that he's older, he deserves to rest. But you've never had a job. You've never experienced how hard it is to work. And now you're making excuses just to get out of something as simple as picking up Alex? That's beyond selfish." So I had gritted my teeth and done it anyway. I endured the pain. I limped through every school run, pushing myself until I had nothing left. But this time I had been trapped in an elevator. I physically couldn't be there. And Ryan still never once thought to ask his father for help. He knew where Carl was. He knew Carl was dancing with his mistress. And yet he would rather take time off work himself than ask Carl to step in. Because in this house, Carl was untouchable. And I was nothing but a maid. A servant who had given up everything for this family, only to be treated like I was worth nothing. A lump formed in my throat, my eyes burning with unshed tears. For years I had told myself I was used to this. Carl's cold indifference. Ryan and Lucia's constant demands, their sharp words that cut into me like knives. I thought I had learned to live with it. But tonight something changed. Maybe it was the pain in my leg radiating all the way into my chest. Maybe it was the crushing weight of everything I had endured. Or maybe, for the first time in my life, I finally realized the truth. I couldn't take it anymore. I wouldn't take it anymore. And I swore in that moment they would pay for every single thing they had done to me. "Is dinner ready yet?" Carl's impatient voice bellowed from the living room. I snapped back to reality, inhaled deeply, and then, without hesitation, threw the dishcloth aside and walked out. I didn't cook dinner. Carl frowned, clearly displeased. "You're so slow. Vivian's already been texting me to come dance." "Forget it, I'll just skip dinner." With that, he got up, straightened his barely rumpled clothes, and pulled out his phone as he strode toward the door. I'm coming, I'll be down in a second." His tone was light, almost eager. That was when Ryan stepped out of his room, his expression darkening. "Mom, what the hell are you doing?" I had had enough. "Whoever wants to eat can cook. I'm done." Lucia, who had been lounging on the couch watching TV, jerked her head up. Her voice turned sharp. "Susie, what kind of tantrum is this? Don't you care about your grandson?" Alex has been saying he's hungry for ages. I scoffed. And none of you thought to get up and make something yourselves? All you know how to do is sit there and demand. Lucia huffed, arms crossed. We don't know how to cook. Ryan's temper flared. Jesus, it's just a meal. You're really trying to blackmail us over this. Lucia, grab Alex. We're eating out tonight. Lucia shot me a glare before disappearing into Alex's room. Moments later, she emerged, taking his hand and raising her voice just enough for me to hear. Come on, Alex. We're going to your favorite restaurant tonight. Alex's face lit up with excitement. He practically jumped for joy. Yes. Finally. As he passed by me, he smirked and stuck out his tongue. A deliberate taunt. I'm going to eat delicious food with mommy and daddy and you're not. He had always hated my cooking. Hated me. Every time I picked him up from school he would throw a tantrum demanding ice cream. But his stomach had always been sensitive and I had to control his intake. He resented me for it. I had tried so many times to make special treats for him, things that were fun and colorful, but nothing I did was ever good enough. The front door slammed shut. And just like that the house fell silent. An eerie, suffocating stillness. I was alone. For a long moment I just stood there, numb. Then slowly I shuffled to the couch and sank down. I pulled up my pant leg and examined my knee. The bruises had deepened into a sickening shade of purple, and the swelling was even worse than before. I reached for the first aid kit, my hands trembling as I cleaned the wound. The sting was sharp, so sharp that tears silently slipped down my face. Once I was done, exhaustion crashed over me like a tidal wave. I didn't even make it to my bed. I passed out right there on the couch. I had no idea how much time had passed when the sound of the front door slamming woke me. Carl had returned. The first thing he did was start rummaging through the cabinets. Where's the first aid kit? I froze. My breath hitched. Was this it? Had he finally noticed my injury? My eyes burned with an embarrassing, involuntary hope. Maybe, just maybe, he had seen my swollen knee. Maybe he cared. Lucia hesitated before answering. I think it's under the TV stand. Ryan frowned, stepping closer. Dad, what happened? Did you get hurt? Why do you need the first aid kit? Carl's reply was casual, almost dismissive. Oh, it's not for me. Vivian twisted her ankle while we were dancing. It's all swollen. Looked pretty painful. In that instant, it was like a bucket of ice-cold water had been dumped over my head. All that foolish hope. Gone. I should have known better. That fleeting warmth I had felt, shattered. Like a fragile glass slipping from my grasp and smashing into pieces on the floor. A cold numbness spread through me, seeping into my bones. It felt like I had fallen into an ice-cold abyss. Carl grabbed the first aid kit and bolted for the door, as if every second Vivian waited was sheer agony for him. Then just as he reached the exit he paused, turned back and without the slightest hesitation gave me an order. Make some chicken soup tomorrow. A big batch. I'm bringing it over to her. She lives alone and now that her foot is injured she won't be able to cook for herself. And with that he walked out without so much as a backward glance. Ryan barely reacted, just pulled out his wallet and carelessly tossed a few bills onto the table. Mom, go to the market early tomorrow and buy the freshest chicken and vegetables. After you drop Alex off at school, start simmering the soup. Let it cook longer, it'll taste better that way. I stared at them, my mind blank. It wasn't that they didn't know how to care for someone. They just never thought to care for me. The image of the young woman from the elevator flashed in my mind. She had been ignored once by her boyfriend, and she had immediately chosen to walk away. And yet, what about me? I had endured a lifetime of far worse neglect, far deeper wounds, and I had never once considered letting go. Why? Because from the moment I was born I was taught to endure, to obey, to sacrifice. I was once young, naive, foolishly believing that marriage would be my refuge. But after marrying Carl I realized I had merely stepped into another prison. He was quick-tempered, cruel, impatient. The slightest inconvenience would send him into a rage. Sometimes his anger was just words. Other times it was worse. But I never left. Because I had nowhere to go. I had been raised in a strict, conservative family, forced to drop out of school at a young age. I had no education, no job, no skills, except for housework. So I stayed. If dinner wasn't to his liking, I got yelled at. If the house wasn't spotless, I got yelled at. If the baby cried too much, I got yelled at. Once when I couldn't take it anymore, I ran home to my mother, sobbing. But before the day was even over, my family sent me right back. A married daughter doesn't return home. No matter how wronged you feel, you swallow it. So I swallowed it. I learned how to cook. I learned how to clean. I learned how to endure. I learned how to become invisible. Then Carl left, off to chase business deals in another city. He was gone for over a decade. And I stayed behind raising Ryan alone. Taking care of his aging mother. Holding the household together. Day after day, year after year. Then when Ryan got married and had his own family, he generously moved Carl and me into the city. He called it letting us enjoy life. The old neighbors back home envied me. Your son is so successful. Carl must have mellowed out now that he's older. He doesn't hit you anymore, does he? You finally have your good days ahead. Good days. Carl ignored me. Ryan ordered me around. Lucia treated me like free labor. And Alex, my own grandson, hated me. I had given everything to this family. And in return I was nothing more than a servant. I was done. I had sacrificed enough. Was I supposed to spend the rest of my days like this? Enduring their cold indifference, their dismissive cruelty, their absolute lack of respect? And suddenly the voice of that girl in the elevator echoed in my head. I want to break up. No, I didn't want to just break up. I wanted a divorce. Divorce. I want a divorce. The moment those words left my lips, it felt like 1,000 pounds had been lifted from my shoulders. For the first time in decades I stood tall. Ryan's head snapped up, his eyes widening in shock. What did you just say? I took a deep breath, met his gaze and repeated slowly, deliberately. I said I want a divorce. I'm done serving this family of ungrateful parasites. I'm moving out. I refuse to waste another second of my life taking care of you people. Ryan's face darkened, his voice turning sharp. Mom, have you lost your mind? You're too old to be talking about divorce. Aren't you embarrassed? Do you know how humiliating this will be? People will laugh at us. Lucia rolled her eyes, scoffing. Oh, Susie, is this menopause talking? What are you even mad about? Vivian? She's just Dad's dance partner. You're really making a scene over nothing. Ryan's expression shifted, realization dawning. Wait, this is about Vivian? Mom, you cannot be serious. They just danced together. And you want a divorce over that? That's ridiculous. I shook my head, my voice unwavering. I don't care what you think. I've made up my mind. A strange calmness settled over me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't seeking permission. I wasn't waiting for approval. I had spent a lifetime suppressing my own needs. No more. My heart pounded, not in fear but in exhilaration. I had never felt more alive. I turned, grabbed my phone and dialed Carl. The line connected. He didn't even bother with a greeting. What now? He snapped, impatient as ever. I barely had time to speak before he hung up. Didn't even give me a chance. Perfect. A bitter laugh bubbled in my throat as I turned and strode into my room. I grabbed a suitcase and started packing. Ryan finally realized I was serious. His face twisted in panic as he fumbled for his phone, dialing Carl with shaky hands. Dad, you need to come home. No. Mom's lost her mind, she wants a divorce. As I packed my things, I realized how pathetically little I owned. I had spent my whole life saving, sacrificing, never once indulging myself. And now as I stood here preparing to leave, it hit me. After all these decades, all I had to my name were a few faded, threadbare clothes. I closed my eyes, swallowing the bitter lump in my throat. From the nightstand, I pulled out my bank book and personal documents, stuffing them into my travel bag along with my clothes. When I zipped the bag shut, there was still a gaping empty space inside. This was everything I had. My entire life reduced to a half-filled suitcase. Done packing. Ryan leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, a smirk tugging at his lips. Looking dismissive. When is Carl coming home? I asked, already knowing the answer. Ryan shrugged, feigning nonchalance. No idea. Vivian needs him right now. He can't leave her side. My hands clenched into fists. Ryan clicked his tongue. Oh, come on, Mom, drop the act. His smirk deepened, laced with condescension. This whole tantrum, it's just a desperate ploy to drag Dad back from Vivian, isn't it? His gaze was pure scorn. Mom, look at yourself. You're not some young girl competing for a lover's attention. Do you even realize how pathetic you look right now? I stared at him. This was my son. A child I had raised with my own hands. A boy who had once been so sweet, so kind. No. I didn't recognize him at all. But Ryan wasn't finished. His words grew sharper, each one a dagger. Mom, you're seriously overreacting. They're both old. What could possibly be going on? Are you really making a scene over this? Vivian just lost her husband. Her kids live far away. He's alone, Mom. Alone. Isn't it normal for neighbors to help each other out? He exhaled loudly like he was the only rational person in the room. And honestly, you should be grateful. Do you have any idea how many people wish their kids would take them in and care for them? And here you are, throwing a fit over nothing. His tone shifted, patronizing. All right, Mom, that's enough. Just drop it. This is getting embarrassing. I couldn't listen anymore. My body moved before I could think. Frick. My palm collided with his face. The slap rang through the room. Ryan stumbled back, eyes wide in shock. I let out a cold, humorless laugh. Grateful. I took a step forward, locking eyes with him. Do you really think I should be grateful for spending every single day cooking, cleaning, and waiting on a bunch of grown adults who refuse to lift a finger? Do you think I should be grateful for dragging my aching legs to pick up Alex from school, only to come home and serve you dinner like a damn maid? Do you think I should be grateful for almost dying in an elevator, only to come home and be scolded because I inconvenienced you? I spat on the floor. Grateful, my ass. You've bled me dry for years and you still think I owe you more? You still think I should keep being your servant? Dream on. Ryan touched his stinging cheek, his expression twisting into something dark. For the first time in my life I saw it. Hatred. He hated me. This was the first time I had ever laid a hand on him. And yet, after everything I had done for him, everything I had given up for him, this was what it took to finally get a reaction. Not love. Not guilt. Just hate. How tragic. How utterly, pathetically tragic. Ryan's temper snapped. His voice rose, shaking with fury. What the hell have you ever done for me besides cooking and babysitting? He whirled toward the window, jabbing a finger at the city below. Look at my friends. Look at their parents. Every single one of them helps their kids buy a house, a car, something. His teeth clenched, voice venomous. But you. His hand shot out, pointing straight at me. You're the worst. At least Dad bought me a car. What the hell have you ever given me? Have you ever worked a single day in your life? Have you ever made a cent on your own? No. You can't even support yourself. His lip curled in disgust. You're nothing but dead weight. A burden. His voice dropped, dripping with pure contempt. So what gives you the right to stand there and lecture me? My whole body trembled with rage as I raised my hand and slapped Ryan across the face again. You ungrateful bastard. His head snapped to the side, his eyes widening in disbelief. But I didn't care. A lifetime of suppressed fury, buried pain, and silent endurance erupted all at once. You were sick all the time when you were little, constantly in and out of the hospital. Your grandmother said you were a burden, a waste of money. She refused to pay for your treatment. Do you remember who carried you on my back, running door to door, begging the neighbors for money just so I could get you the medical care you needed? It was me. Now you stand here and look down on me for not having a job, for not making money? Do you have any idea why I never worked? When you were 3 years old, Carl's sister told me to send you away, to let you live with your grandmother so she could take me to the city to earn a living. But how could I? Your grandmother treated you like a nuisance. She barely gave you enough to eat. If I had left you with her, you wouldn't have survived. And now, you dare to call me a burden? I let out a bitter, hollow laugh. When you were little, you were the burden I had to carry every single day. But did I ever resent you? Did I ever blame you? No. I loved you. You were my whole world. Ryan's face drained of color. His lips parted, trembling like he wanted to say something, but no words came out. Because he didn't remember. He had spent so many years blaming me, looking down on me, treating me like the family's unpaid maid. Never once did he stop to think about everything I had done for him. I took a shaky breath, wiped my face, and forced my voice to stay calm. Yes, your father worked away from home for over a decade. And you think he had it hard. But do you know that for the first 10 years he never sent home a single penny? Do you know that it was me who kept this family afloat? Do you know that every single meal you ate, every piece of clothing you wore, every time you got sick, it was all on me? You think he suffered? I let out a short, bitter laugh. Did you ever stop to wonder, what about me? And finally the tears came. I had held them back for so long, but they poured down now, carrying decades of exhaustion, heartbreak, and pain. Ryan's mouth opened and closed. He was choking on his own words, struggling to speak. Mom. He reached for me, but I stepped back. His hand hovered in the air, stunned. For the first time, real panic flickered in his eyes. But this time I wasn't going to soften. I wiped my tears, steadied my breathing, and spoke in a voice so calm, it almost sounded cold. Ryan, I owe you nothing. I have given you everything I had. So you have no right to judge me. No right to blame me. Ryan's entire body trembled. His face twisted in pain, in something almost like regret. After a long silence he finally spoke, his voice low, hoarse. Mom, I was wrong. I was selfish. I shouldn't have treated you like that. I'm sorry. I paused. Ryan, apologizing? But strangely I felt nothing. I had been disappointed too many times. And sure enough, the very next moment he grabbed my hand, his voice suddenly gentle, coaxing. Mom, let's just take a step back, okay? Let's forget about tonight. We can go back to how things were and we'll live happily as a family again. I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. Let me guess, you still think this is my fault. That I'm the one making a fuss. Ryan flinched, caught off guard. And no, Mom, that's not what I meant. You don't have to explain. I cut him off, my tone calm but ice cold. Your father never cared about this family when he was young. He was always too busy helping other people. And now that he's older, he's still the same. He barely speaks to me, but he's running around playing caretaker for another woman. Ryan, I'm exhausted. Ryan immediately shook his head, rushing to defend Carl. Mom, you're overthinking things. It's just medicine. It's just being neighborly. It's not a big deal. I stared at him for a long moment, then let out a soft, cold chuckle. Is that so? Then let's go see for ourselves. Carl and Vivian were never just dance partners. I had noticed months ago. The stolen glances, the lingering touches. And now that Vivian's husband was gone, they weren't even trying to hide it. Divorce? Of course I was getting a divorce. But I wasn't leaving quietly. Vivian lived on the first floor. As I peered through her floor-to-ceiling window, I was met with a scene so disgustingly intimate that I almost laughed. Under the dim, golden light, Vivian sat on the couch with her leg draped over Carl's lap, playing the role of a helpless, fragile damsel. Carl knelt before her, carefully applying medicine to her ankle like he was handling a priceless artifact. His face was so gentle, so focused, as if he weren't the same man who had ignored me for years. My eyes narrowed, lips curling into a cold sneer. So this was neighborly concern? Mom, you're overreacting. Ryan, standing beside me, waved a dismissive hand. His tone was lazy and indifferent. Look at him, his face is serious. There's nothing inappropriate going on. It's late. Was this little investigation really necessary? Shut up. Keep watching. My voice was ice. Carl finished applying the medicine. When Vivian winced in pain, he leaned down and blew gently on her ankle. Ryan let out an awkward chuckle, but his voice wavered. Well, you know, blowing on a wound is pretty normal, right? He trailed off. Because the next second, Carl pulled Vivian into his arms and kissed her. Like a match striking dry wood, the tension ignited instantly. Vivian made a half-hearted attempt to push him away, her voice as soft as a feather. Close the curtains. Carl hesitated, about to get up. And that's when he saw me. Our eyes met. The air froze. A blinding flash of light. Shit. My phone's flash was on. Oops. My bad. Left the flash on. A loud, familiar voice rang out behind me. Wait. That voice. I turned around and nearly burst out laughing. It wasn't just Tracy. She had brought the whole squad. I had only told her, but somehow an entire gang of old friends had tagged along. These were women who usually complained about bad knees and aching backs. Yet the moment they smelled gossip, they had outrun a pack of greyhounds. 7 of them. Standing in perfect formation, cameras ready. Inside, Vivian screamed and kicked Carl off of her. With the exact same foot she claimed was too injured to walk. Perfect. Ryan panicked. His voice cracked as he turned to Tracy. Tracy, what are you doing here? What did you just record? Tracy smirked, planting her hands on her hips. What do you mean? We were just out for an evening stroll. That's normal, right? We didn't do anything. Ryan, now completely losing it, lunged toward her phone. Let me see that. You can't just record people. Tracy dodged effortlessly, clutching her phone like a prize. Hands off. My knees are bad. If you hurt me, I'll sue you for assault. One of the other women piped up. Don't worry, ladies. I already sent it to the group chat. Whoever has a phone, check for yourself. Ryan turned ghost white. Delete it. Delete it now, you crazy old bat. The old ladies burst into laughter. Too late. And just then, Carl stormed out, face thunderous. What the hell are you lunatics doing? Tracy cupped her hands around her mouth and hollered. Everyone look. The cheating husband has arrived. Within seconds, windows up and down the block flew open. Dozens of nosy neighbors peeked out. Tracy pointed dramatically at Carl, her voice booming like a police siren. This is Carl. And that's Vivian. Her husband hasn't even been dead a few months, and she's already tangled up with a married man. And guess what? We got it all on video. Anyone who wants to see, come take a look. Shut your mouth. You're talking nonsense. Carl roared. But Tracy wasn't backing down. Oh, I hit a nerve, huh? Why so defensive? We just caught you red-handed. What, we're not even allowed to talk about it now. Carl tried to step forward, but he never stood a chance. The 7 women closed in, surrounding him like a pack of wolves. One of them sneered, voice dripping with sarcasm. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl. And his dear Vivian. They thought they could get away with their little romance, but forgot to shut the curtains. It's like they wanted an audience. Another one chimed in, eyes locked on Vivian. Vivian, your husband is barely cold in his grave and you're already in another man's arms? That's some Olympic-level speed. If you love performing so much, why not do it out on the street? We'd be happy to applaud. Actually, ladies, I noticed them months ago. They've been sneaking around for a while. A collective gasp. And then, oh my God. Do you think Vivian's husband died from the shock of their affair? Jesus. They're worse than I thought. Carl's face was livid. Vivian, humiliated, looked ready to faint. Me. I just stood there, arms crossed, enjoying the show. The whole fiasco finally ended when the police arrived. Carl looked like a complete mess. His clothes torn, his hair missing a chunk, his entire body disheveled and humiliated. The whole neighborhood had witnessed the spectacle. By now, everyone in the community was talking about it. I stood at a distance, watching him stomp around in a blind fury, completely unhinged. And for the first time in years, I felt satisfied. Pure, unfiltered satisfaction. It was glorious. By the time I got home, it was past midnight. Carl sat in the living room, his face dark as an impending storm. The moment he saw me, his entire expression twisted with rage. You crazy bitch. Was this your doing? I met his fury with a calm, cold smile. Yes, it was me. So what? His entire body shook with anger. You venomous woman. He slammed his fist onto the table, his roar filling the room. I'm your husband and you dare do this to me? Ryan came in behind him, looking like he had completely lost his mind. He was breathing hard, his hands in his hair, eyes filled with pure frustration. Mom, what the hell do you want? His glare burned into me, full of disappointment and blame, as if he was the one being humiliated. No matter what happens, you should have kept it private. You don't air dirty laundry in public. Do you have any idea what you've done? How am I supposed to face people now? Do I even have a shred of dignity left? I didn't even look at him. Instead, I turned to Carl, pointing straight at him. Why don't you ask him that question? He's the one who climbed on top of Vivian in full view of everyone. He's the one who disgraced you. Ryan's face froze. Carl, on the other hand, turned a dangerous shade of red, his voice rising to a furious bellow. You're insane. A complete lunatic. He jabbed a finger toward the door, his voice trembling with rage. Divorce. I want a divorce right now. Get out of my house. Take your shit and leave. Right now. For the first time that night, I felt a wave of relief. Finally. I had been waiting for this moment. I had worried that Carl would drag this out, refuse to let me go, trap me in this prison. But now, he was throwing me out himself. Perfect. I didn't say another word. I simply turned, walked to my room and grabbed my already packed bag. I had been ready to leave hours ago. I slung it over my shoulder, fully prepared to walk out of that house forever. But just as I reached the door, Carl blocked my way. Stop right there. His narrowed eyes locked onto my bag and something vicious flickered in them. Put that down. His voice was sharp, dripping with malice. You're not taking a damn thing. Everything in this house was bought with my money. You leave empty-handed. That sentence, that absolute audacity. I laughed. Actually laughed. It was a slow, cold, deliberate laugh. Then without a word I placed my bag down. Ryan let out a small sigh of relief, thinking I had given in. But then, I walked into the kitchen. A second later I strode back out, holding a knife. A long, gleaming kitchen knife. Ryan's face went ghost white. Carl took an instinctive step back. I gripped the handle firmly, my gaze sharp and deadly. Listen carefully, Carl. If you won't let me live in peace, then we're going down together. For a second, time seemed to rewind decades. Once, when I was young and desperate, I had held a knife just like this, facing off against someone who tried to hurt me and my child. Now, I was standing in my own home, holding it against my own so-called family. Ryan panicked, stepping between us, his voice shaking. Mom, calm down. We can talk this out. Don't do anything crazy. Calm down. I lifted the knife slightly, just enough for the blade to catch the light. Did you all think I was just some punching bag? Did you think that just because I spent a lifetime enduring that I would never fight back? Even a clay figurine has fire in its core. You have all pushed me too far. Carl finally showed fear. He took another step back, still muttering curses, but his voice wasn't as strong as before. You crazy old hag. I narrowed my eyes. Carl. My voice was low, cold, and deadly sharp. I don't have a mistress to run to. I have nothing to lose. So if you think you can keep pushing me, you'd better start sleeping with one eye open. Carl's entire face drained of color. His breath hitched, his hands clenching and unclenching at his sides. He tried to act tough, but the terror in his eyes was undeniable. Get out. Take your damn bag and get out. Ryan stood there, stunned, his expression unreadable. He stomped his foot, his frustration boiling over. Mom, why did it have to come to this? Why did you push things this far? I turned, my voice calm and firm. Because you all pushed me first. And with that I walked out the door. And never looked back. After my divorce from Carl, he wasted no time trying to humiliate me. The very next day he brought Vivian into our home, as if nothing had happened. Not only that, but they planned to throw a grand party like they were celebrating a damn wedding. But their joy didn't last long. The following morning I hired someone to leave a special message on their doorstep. A very public blessing. And the results were immediate. Vivian saw my little gift, and screamed so loud, the entire neighborhood turned to watch the scene unfold. Within half an hour they canceled the party. They didn't even dare step outside. But of course, to comfort his precious Vivian, Carl went and hired a maid to make sure she never had to lift a finger. Now Vivian had truly become the queen of the household. I spent the rest of the day on the phone with my old friends, gossiping and laughing. Some felt bad for me, saying it was a shame that those two scumbags got away with everything. Tracy, of course, was the most furious. If I were you, I wouldn't have given up the house so easily. I'd stay there just to piss him off for the rest of his miserable life. Her words made me chuckle. Who's really going to suffer in the end? That remains to be seen. But honestly, why waste my life on Carl anymore? I had better things to do. Then Tracy sent another message. Susie, why don't you come live in my old house? I'm never going back there and it's just sitting empty anyway. I knew she meant well, but I insisted on paying rent. After a bit of back and forth, she finally gave in and accepted a symbolic amount just to ease my conscience. And just like that, I left behind the place that had suffocated me for years. And started over. Tracy's old house was in a quiet little town, surrounded by breathtaking scenery. On my first day there, I cleaned the house from top to bottom, even took the time to till a small patch of land near the yard, planning to visit the market the next day for flowers and vegetable seeds. By the time I finished, my whole body ached. But for the first time it was a good kind of exhaustion. That night I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I opened my eyes, glanced at the sky, and instantly bolted out of bed. Shit. I'm late. I need to wake Alex up. He's going to be late for school. I rushed to the kitchen ready to start breakfast. Then suddenly froze. Wait. Where am I? I looked around, slowly realizing I don't have to take Alex to school anymore. I was free. Truly, completely, finally free. For years, mornings had been a daily battle. Alex refused to get up. I nagged. He dragged his feet. We barely made it to school before the bell rang. Me. I never even had a moment to breathe. Always exhausted. Always rushing. Always worn down. But now, I could slow down. And for some reason, that realization made me want to cry. It didn't take long for me to settle into my new life. Tending flowers. Growing vegetables. Enjoying the sun. My days were peaceful and quiet. And then Linda arrived. My new neighbor. She was around my age and, strangely enough, always seemed to show up right when I was cooking. One day, she walked over acting if nothing was strange and announced. "Susie, I can't cook. Mind if I join your meals? I'll cover the grocery costs." I didn't refuse. Cooking for two wasn't much different than cooking for one. And honestly, it was nice to have company. Before long, we became inseparable. Linda was bold, funny, and completely unfiltered. Every evening after dinner, we took long walks, laughing and gossiping like two old troublemakers. Life was perfect. Until today. My phone rang. Ryan. I frowned. Hesitated. Then picked up. "Mom." His voice was choked with emotion, thick with regret. "Can you come back?" There was a tremble in his voice. Like he was about to cry. I paused. Then I laughed. I wasn't surprised to see Ryan's name pop up on my phone. Tracy had already given me the full report. Ever since I left, their lives had fallen into complete chaos. Lucia and Ryan were constantly fighting, and the root of their fights? Money. The mortgage, the car payments, Alex's expensive piano lessons. It was all suffocating them. And now, on top of everything, they had to cover the cost of Carl's precious maid for Vivian. Lucia couldn't take it anymore. She suggested that Vivian start pulling her weight since she was now Carl's new wife. But Vivian? A housewife? A caretaker? She lasted exactly one day. While mopping the floor, she accidentally twisted her ankle and immediately took to bed rest for 5 whole days. Carl was devastated. He practically worshipped her bedside, waiting on her hand and foot. Lucia, on the verge of a breakdown, didn't dare lash out at Carl, so she took it out on the maid instead. The poor woman lasted a few days before she finally snapped, storming out of the house with her suitcase, cursing all the way down the street. "You people are a goddamn curse. I've never seen a family as toxic as yours." Word spread fast. Soon enough, the entire neighborhood started avoiding Carl's family like the plague. With no maid left, the responsibility of picking up Alex fell to Vivian. But did she actually care about him? Of course not. He wasn't her grandson. In fact, she still held a grudge against Lucia. So she did what any spiteful stepmother would do. She used Alex to get back at Lucia. She spoiled him rotten. One day, she encouraged him to eat 5 fried chicken legs and 3 ice creams in one sitting. That night, he ended up in the emergency room, curled up in pain, screaming on the hospital bed before being rushed into surgery. Lucia, finding out what had happened, completely lost it. She and Vivian got into a full-blown screaming match at the hospital. Neither one backed down, their shouting so loud that even the nurses were too scared to intervene. Carl, in a panic, tried to break them apart. And in the chaos, Vivian shoved him. He went flying down the stairs. And broke his stupid leg. That night, their happy family shattered completely. Carl, now stuck in a wheelchair, sat there seething with hatred, glaring daggers at Vivian. When Tracy told me this last night, I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my dessert. Karma is a beautiful thing. But Ryan had no idea I already knew. So when I picked up his call, he immediately launched into a dramatic sob story. "Mom, Alex is in the hospital. He was rushed to there last night. He just got out of surgery. Poor Alex. He's just a little kid. How could he go through something like this?" I stayed silent, listening. Ryan paused. Realizing I wasn't reacting, he quickly switched tactics. "Mom, can you come back? Please, just for Alex. Even if you and Dad are divorced, you'll always be Alex's grandma." He's been calling for you in his sleep. Mom, we need you. Please come home. As I listened, my brows furrowed. Ryan was so full of shit I could barely stand it. Since when did he ever need me? This wasn't about Alex. This was about them needing a free babysitter again. Same old tactics. Same old tricks. I snapped. Do you seriously think I'm that stupid? You miss me? You need me. Don't make me laugh. You just ran out of people to exploit. You're the ones who invited Vivian into your home. Now you're paying the price. Didn't expect it to go this way, did you? Well, too bad. This is your mess, you clean it up. And Carl. He's only in a wheelchair. Damn shame. He should have broken his neck instead. Next time he actually drops dead, give me a call. I'll gladly come back to attend his funeral. Goodbye. Then without hesitation I hung up. Hanging up the phone, I let out a long breath as if I had finally shrugged off a mountain of weight from my shoulders. Linda had been watching the whole time. Now she leaned back, arms crossed, a satisfied grin on her face. I was half afraid you'd go soft on him, she admitted. I was this close to snatching your phone and cussing him out myself. I chuckled, shaking my head. Relax. I haven't lost my mind just yet. Linda let out a small sigh, her expression shifting into something more distant. You never asked me why I came here alone, she said. But I'm guessing you've already figured it out? She smiled, but it wasn't a happy one. I nodded. You went through something like me, didn't you? Linda hesitated, then shook her head. Yes and no. Now that she had an opening, she slowly began to tell her story. Linda came from a coastal town in Maine, a place known for fresh seafood and lobster. But her husband, he was no hard-working fisherman. He always called himself a fisherman, she scoffed. But if I counted how many times he actually went out to sea in a year, I wouldn't even need both hands. They were dirt poor. She had no choice but to leave town and work in the city, busting her ass for years to save up enough money. Eventually she was making more than her husband. But did he appreciate it? Did he thank her? No. Instead he resented her. He said, what kind of man lets his wife provide for the family? It's humiliating. But did he ever ask himself why he refused to get a real job? Still she stuck it out. She put her son through school, paid for his wedding, even helped raise his kids. He thought, finally maybe she could rest. Then she found out. Her so-called best friend had been sleeping with her husband for years. And the worst part? Her whole family knew. Even her son. When the truth came out, she thought at the very least her son would stand by her. He was wrong. Just like Ryan had sided with Carl, her son took his father's side. You were always working, he told her. You were never around. Becca was the one who actually took care of us. Linda had collapsed from the shock and heartbreak, so sick she was hospitalized for 2 months. When she finally recovered, she didn't hesitate. She took her share of the money and left. And that's how I ended up here, she finished with a humorless chuckle. Then she looked at me, something bitter but determined in her eyes. You know what, Susie, she said, voice quieter now. I worked my whole damn life to provide for them. And in the end, what did I get? I bought my son a house. I paid for his kids. And yet he still blamed me for not being there enough. She laughed coldly. When I worked, I was neglectful. When I didn't work, I was useless. She exhaled, shaking her head. Sometimes I think, no matter what we do, we're always in the wrong. I reached over and squeezed her shoulder gently. No. The problem isn't us. It's them. If the family is broken, then we build a new one. I smiled at her, my voice warm. Look at us. We're living together, taking care of each other, and we're happier than ever. Isn't this what real family should feel like? Linda blinked, stunned for a moment. Then her expression brightened. You're right. We should be living for ourselves. Then suddenly, her eyes lit up with excitement. But you know what, Susie? We've rested enough. It's time to start making money. I frowned, caught off guard. Money. Linda nodded firmly. You're amazing at cooking. Why don't we start a food channel? We'll film your recipes and post them online. I hesitated, feeling unsure. People pay for that? Of course they do. Don't worry, I've already looked into it. You just cook, I'll handle the rest. She patted my shoulder, beaming. I have a really good feeling about this. And just like that, we dove in headfirst. Linda was a force of nature. The moment she decided on something, she moved fast. I, on the other hand, knew nothing about this kind of work. So I just listened to her, followed her lead, and did as she instructed. For a month we worked non-stop. And then, it happened. Our videos started gaining traction. People loved them. And then, our first paid sponsorship came in. When Linda handed me my first share of ad revenue, I stared at the money in my hands, feeling a rush of emotions. Pride, excitement, confidence. I had spent a lifetime believing I couldn't earn my own way. But now, I had just made my own money. We kept at it, posting more videos, building our audience, watching our numbers climb. Linda was thrilled. Me. For the first time, I felt truly unstoppable. I had a feeling. The best days of my life were just beginning. Just as life was finally settling into a beautiful rhythm, Ryan showed up at my doorstep. He dropped to his knees, sobbing like a child, face pale and drawn, desperately trying to play the sympathy card. "Mom, I miss you so much. Ever since you left, the whole family's fallen apart. I'm exhausted. I lost my job. Lucia and I fight every single day. And now she's threatening to divorce me. She said if you don't come back, she'll leave me and take Alex with her. Mom, I have nowhere else to go. You've always loved me the most, right?" "Right." Then came the biggest joke of all. Even Dad. He said, "If you just come back home, he'll dump Vivian on the spot and remarry you. Mom, we're all waiting for you." I couldn't help it. I laughed. What a pathetic, desperate move. Tracy had already told me everything. Their house was a disaster. Vivian couldn't stand Carl's bad temper and controlling ways. She was begging for a divorce. But Carl? He wouldn't let her go. He cursed at her, hit her, forced her to care for him, demanding she bathe him, feed him, just like she once demanded from me. No. They were nothing more than two prisoners, trapped in a never-ending war. Their shouting matches shook the entire apartment building. It was glorious. Absolutely glorious. I was done wasting my breath on Ryan. I turned around, walked into the kitchen and came back out, holding a butcher knife. I twirled it in my hand, my voice ice cold. "Get the hell out." Ryan froze. He had never seen me like this before. But now I was a woman who had nothing left to fear. And thanks to our cooking videos, I had perfected my knife skills. Ryan's face turned pale. But still he refused to back down. "I'm not leaving," he insisted, growing bolder. "I lost my job. The mortgage is overdue. If I don't make the payment next month, the bank will take our house. You have two options: come back with me or give me money. Because I'm not leaving without something." I narrowed my eyes. For a moment I just stared at him. Then with a sharp flick of my wrist, I threw the knife. It slammed into the wooden doorframe inches from his ear. Ryan let out a strangled yelp, scrambling backward. "You still not leaving?" I asked slowly, my voice dangerously calm. Ryan frantically shook his head. I'm leaving. Just calm down." And then, like a rat scurrying from a fire, he bolted. Didn't even dare look back. But the bastard wasn't done yet. According to Linda, he had rented a cheap motel in town, determined to wait me out. He wasn't giving up. And he wasn't the only one. Linda's son? Same story. He had blown through all his money and come crawling back to her for more. We stared at each other, both feeling disgusted. Then Linda sighed, shaking her head. "Susie, we can't hide forever." I frowned. "Then what do we do?" Linda's lips curled into a mischievous smile. "Simple. We disappear." The next morning, before sunrise, we grabbed our suitcases, headed to the airport, and vanished. Our first stop? California. We had enough money. We were done working just to survive. From now on, we were living for ourselves. Ryan, Carl, let them rot. For the next few years, we traveled across America. From the bustling streets of New York to the vast beauty of the Grand Canyon, from Yellowstone's geysers to the pristine beaches of Hawaii. And our videos? They evolved. No longer just cooking. Now we captured the beauty of our travels, the richness of different cultures, the joy of true freedom. We didn't have fixed plans. We went wherever we wanted. Filmed whatever we felt like. When we got tired, we took a break. Life was finally our own. And the best part? We weren't alone. Our videos inspired thousands of people. Emails poured in. "I finally left my toxic husband because of you. For the first time in years, I feel alive. I thought my life was already set in stone at 60. You showed me that it's never too late to start over. Thank you. You taught me how to love myself. Reading their words, I smiled. Looking back, my old life felt like a distant nightmare. Once I believed that at 60 a woman should stay home, serve her family and quietly accept her fate. But now I knew better. Because as long as you have the courage to walk away, it is never too late to start again.